When you call me by the name and pronouns I adore, you give me a gentle, warm hug, a hand up, a healing balm, a bright smile in the dark, a heart-opening wink, a bouquet of sunflowers, a yarrow blossom circle of protection, a tender rose of sweetness, years of my life, a burst of energy, the ability to focus, a nourishing sense of safety and belonging, a happy memory, a warm cup of lemon balm love. When you call me by the name and pronouns I adore, you give me wellness, welcome, and home. Thank you. Written by transgender poet Keith Silva from Hood River, Oregon. Come, let us worship together.
Happy spring. Did you realize it's here? I think we're all ready for it. And a blessed Nowruz and Ostara to those who celebrate, Ramazan Mubarak, and wishes for a good Lent to all of those who are observing any of these holidays of the springtime. Welcome to our service on gender liberation, which I offer in honor of the Transgender Day of Visibility, which will be on March 31st. I will note that we'll be discussing some difficult experiences being faced by transgender, non-binary, gender non-conforming, and queer people today. And if anything is potentially triggering, you're invited at any point in the service to enjoy our beautiful courtyard or Forbes Hall. And we also have some pastoral associates who are available if you need some additional support. Do we have any pastoral associates in the sanctuary this morning? I see Gretchen over, if you raise your hands tall so everyone can see Gretchen, and I see Greg in the back, and I know Linda is back working in the kitchen. And I also noticed a celebrity just walked in, Narit Gordon, our congregational our church administrator, who we will be celebrating after the service in her almost 15 years of dedicated service to this community upon the occasion of her retirement, which is coming sooner than any of us wish. So welcome, Narit, as well. I'm the Reverend Jeremiah Lal Shabazz Calendé, and I serve this congregation as its developmental minister. I'm joined on the chancel this morning by Worship Associate Dr. Susan Hendricks, Director of Multi-Generational Religious Education, Jessica Tenhave Place, Choral Section Leader Talia Moore, and of course, Ryan Humphrey on the piano. The Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Santa Monica is a contemporary congregation with roots deep in the centuries-old traditions of Unitarian Universalism. We are an open and affirming congregation, celebrating LGBTIAQ+ members and friends, working for justice for BIPOC community, towards full inclusion for those living with disabilities, as well as protecting our precious planet home and all of its inhabitants. We draw upon sacred, secular, and scientific sources in our liberal tradition, and we welcome spiritual beliefs from all of the world's religions and from humanistic, atheistic, and agnostic wisdom. If this is your first time joining us, or if you're still new to our congregation, we bid you a special welcome and hope you'll take time to visit our visitors table out in the courtyard after the service, to stay to meet folks in our coffee hour, and check out our online news magazine and website and our Thursday announcements, which are sent out by email. Now, as we begin, we'd like to acknowledge that we gather upon the sacred lands and near the life-giving waters and beneath the beautiful skies of indigenous people. This is the traditional home of the Tongva, Gabrielino, Keys, Ventureno, Fernandino, Tatvaviam, and Chumash tribes. We remember the painful histories of these lands, and we continue our commitment to justice and sovereignty for indigenous people. I light our flaming chalice this morning with May your call be awakened, by Michelle LaGrave. We come to religious community from many paths and with diverse needs. If you have come here seeking comfort, may your pain be soothed. If you have come here looking for answers, may you find new questions. If you have come here seeking purpose, may your call be awakened. If you have come here hoping to build a new way, I think a lot of us are here for that reason, may the path be open before you. Now let us rise in body or spirit and sing our opening hymn, number 1019 in the Teal hymnal, Everything Possible. And then please remain standing for our covenant and hymn of praise.
I've told you a story, taught you
Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, thus do we covenant with each other. El amor es la enseñanza de esta iglesia. Buscar la verdad es su sacramento, y el servicio es la oración. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar el conocimiento en la libertad, servir a la humanidad en comunión. Así es como convenimos unos a otros.
Good morning. My name is Jessica Tenhave Place, and I'm the Director of Multi-Generational Religious Education here in our community. And right now, I want to invite any kids who are out there, I see a few kids out there, to join Sophia. Will you raise your hand? Big. Come join Sophia, because you're going to help collect our donations for the West Side Food Bank. So we'll have a couple of our RE helpers. Can we give a big hand to our RE helpers who are here? A wonderful crew of folks giving so much of their time and so much of their heart to the kids here in our community, so thank you. But yeah, if you can raise your hand if you have a donation for the West Side Food Bank, some of our helpers will come find you. We always want our kids to be a part of these kinds of things that we do for the service of our community. Zia's here to help us. Thank you, Zia. And speaking of the kids in our community, I would be so excited if I get to see you all again next Sunday, because we're having one of our multi-generational services, which is one of my favorite things that we get to do here, kind of continuing a bit of the message that we'll be focusing on today in trusting our inherent worth, because I want all of our kids and all of the kids that are still in the hearts of all of us adults to know that we are sacred and special just as we are. And that's one of the most important lessons that we try to pass on to our kids, as well as the importance of service. Yeah, so you can bring our baskets over here today, because we had so many knock-downable things beautifully set up front. And speaking of that, today my friend Gila is going to join us for our Time for All Ages to teach us about a very special holiday. So once we've collected all our food, any kids out there can come join me on the steps. So the basket's over there today, so you can put it over there. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here today, Gila. And I wonder if, Zia, you could help me with something. So Gila is going to teach us about Nowruz, which is a holiday that goes along with the spring equinox. And so to explain what that is, Zia, can you hold this big ball and stand right there? That is our sun, our green sun for today. And I wonder... So we're going to do a little scientific illustration of what the spring equinox is. So this is our sun out here. Can you hold that up high? We have our Earth. And so as we know, the Earth goes around the sun, right? So do you want to walk around, Zia, in a circle, show how the Earth goes around the sun? Yeah, so we're always circling around our sun. But sometimes the northern hemisphere, so see, I see North America right there, is tilted more towards the sun. So can you sort of tilt it sideways like that? Yeah, so we're getting a little more sun in the northern hemisphere. And sometimes the southern hemisphere so the bottom of it is more tilted towards the sun. So can you just tilt it the other way? Yeah. And so sometimes the southern hemisphere is getting more light. But the spring equinox is a special time where, bloop, we're just getting the same amount of light and darkness in a day, and it's the beginning of spring. So thank you so much to my scientific assistants. Thank you. And now that we understand scientifically what the spring equinox is, Gila is going to explain some of the cultural celebration around that.
Good morning, everyone. And that's the exact time as the Earth goes around the sun, the exact time that finishes the whole year. We celebrate, that's when the new year starts. And we set up the table with different items that each item symbolizes something that's important in Persian culture, in Iranian culture. We have the grasses, that's the 7 items that all start with letter S, have to be edible, and they're from plant-based, not animal-based. And as I said, they all start with letter S, like sabze, which is a sprout, the green sprout, and that's lentil. That's how it's before it comes to that. And that's wheat sprout that I put tulips on it. This is wheat. And then mango bean, that's the grasses over there. So we have the other stuff that we have it's apple. In Iran, we call it sib. That's start with letter S. And samanu, it's from the sprout. We cook it from the wheat sprout, and it's very nutritious. And then somar, which is, let's see, this is somar, and it represents the light of life, and has an antioxidant property. And senjet, which is some sort of dry fruit, I think they call it oyster, and it's symbolizes love. And then we have, and the garlic that symbolizes for cleanliness and purity, and the vinegar, which I forgot to put it in. The vinegar is also symbolized for the cleanliness and cleaning of the environment. So we also put other things on a half-seen table, like flowers that represent the spring, and the mirror represents transparency and honesty. And the Hafiz book, that's the poem of the Hafiz, one of the famous poet in Iran, which we quote him many times at this church. And then that's a beautiful handwriting of the Persian literature. It's a Cho Iran nabashad tan man nabad, and which means as long as my body is not going to exist, as long as if Iran does not exist, I won't exist either. And so let's see what else. And the candles represent light. So I would really like to go and read something about the importance of this culture in our country. And then after that, I would play some music and dance for you. It's hard, you kind of prepare yourself for so many kids here, and then things changes. Nowruz is not a tradition. It is a culture. It embodies art, music, youth, love, and friendship. It symbolizes the victory of good over evil, a time for reconciliation and peace. Nowruz is about cleaning, joy, nurturing happiness. It goes beyond tradition. Unlike the other traditions that demand sacrifice, Nowruz does not impose suffering. It does not promise paradise or require pain for fulfillment. It is like art, music, bringing joy, hope, and wisdom without hardship. The symbolic meaning of most elements in the Nowruz table represent love, kindness, lights, beauty, all values that Iranian culture emphasizes. The cultural reach of the Nowruz spans beyond Iran's borders, symbolizing the Iranian spirit. Throughout history, Iran has welcomed various cultures and peoples from around the world, from Turks, Arabs, all embracing Iranian culture. Nowruz is a symbol of peace, harmony, beauty, and transcends politics and violence. Nowruz is a global symbol of purity, friendship, and goodwill, transcending religious and ideologies. May it inspire peace, reflection, and comfort for all of us. And I'm going to ask Mia to, these days, people from Iran, they identify a lot with their culture and with their old culture. And they used to go to shrines the first day of the New Year to pray, but now they go to Cyrus King's tomb, and they go to a Hafiz place, and they read a poem and sing song. So, Mia, would you show that? Like, this is the Kurdish people in Iran, and you could see the joyous celebration. Okay, that was going in Hafiz's tone. And this is Kurdish people. Yes, thank you. So there are many, I just showed the two sample of what's happening in Iran, but there are thousands of events like that happening. It's a one way for people to deal with what's going on in Iran, deal with the government. And and this man, I'm going to, I'm so sorry. I found it. So I'm going to sing to this person's, actually he's the son of the famous singer Shajarian, who introduced the classical music in Iran, the best classical music in Iran. And the song of this is about Nowruz.
وقت سعید آمد مشت زمین وا شد سبز پدید آمد سبزه یار آمد عطر مسیحا یکی سوی نگار آمد قفل غزل وا شد هل در هل آواز پرستوی بهار آمد گل برین آمد فصل شکوفایی رویای زمین آمد کار دل عشاق سکه شد از سیب محبت به سر سفره سینا آمد
all the different things happening in our culture. And now we'll meet everyone else in the cottage and sing Go Now in Peace.
Greetings again, community. I am Dr. Susan Hendricks, and I am delighted to again be your worship associate today. There are a couple of announcements. First of all, at this time, if you could please silence your cell phones, that would be appreciated. On Wednesday, April 23rd, please join us for a Yom HaShoah service hosted by the Santa Monica Area Interfaith Council at 6 p.m. here in the sanctuary. The Leadership Development and Nomination Committee and the members of the board have been surveying the entire congregation since February 23rd, and today, March 23rd, is their final day. They have asked the congregation to recommend members for the search committee for a settled minister. If you have yet to share with them, please contact Eric Pasal, John Zinner, as well as Hago Salabian and Wendy Gladstone. And I believe John is here. John, if you can raise your hand, and Eric, and Wendy's here also. If you're here, raise your hand so that we know. All right. As a reminder, Women's Plus community meets today, Sunday, March 23rd, celebrating Nowruz, the Persian New Year, with Gila. Join us for lunch in the shade structure at 12:15 p.m. And finally, please join us for a celebration of our retiring beloved church administrator, Nurit Gordon, following the service. We will celebrate Nurit with food, drinks, testimonies, a special congregational gift, and a blessing from our community. Now it's time to greet your neighbors. Before doing so, please remember to listen for Ryan's piano cue to return to worship, which we will then follow with our music for the morning. Let's now take a few moments to say hello and greet those around you who you are both familiar with and who are new.
Hello. My name is Talia. Whew, sorry, I'm like nervous for some reason. Thank you. Sonder asked me to give you guys a little bit of background about the pieces that I'm going to be singing for you today. So the first one comes from this super awesome book called The New Music Anthology for Trans and Non-Binary Voices. All of the composers in this book are both either trans or non-binary. And what I both love about this is that it's truly written for people that are exploring different ranges of their voices. And it was challenging for me personally as someone who is cisgendered and a soprano. There were pieces that I was like, oh, this is so awesome. And then out of nowhere, it would like drop to the bottom of the range. And I was like, oh, God. So the piece that I picked today is called Solitaire by Rosa Korean, who is a non-binary bass baritone. And it just kind of speaks to that peace and quiet that you feel once you feel settled and the rest of the world is settling around you. But if anyone out there is a singer or is just like in general interested in the music that's in here, I'll have this kind of down at the front. Please look at it, peruse, tell your friends, and yeah, I hope you enjoy. When night drifts along the streets of the city and sifts down between the uneven roofs, my mind begins to pick and peer. It plays at ball in odd blue Chinese gardens and shades roll dice in pagan temples amid the broken flutings of white pillars. It dances with purple and yellow crocuses in its hair, and its feet shine as they flutter over drenched grasses. How light and laughing my mind is when all the good folk have put out their bedroom candles and the city is still.
Thank you. We cross the threshold into our time for deepening of our mindfulness and finding peace within and among all those gathered here and online this morning. Let us begin to center by breathing together on this beautiful morning. Breathing in, we welcome in the freshness of the springtime air with each breath. Breathing out, we exhale the lingering energies of the winter time. Breathing in, we welcome in the joyful and playful sounds of the new season, the birds chirping, the squirrels and critters scurrying about, and the gentle breeze moving through the leaves. Breathing out, we exhale all that is stagnant and ready to be released. Breathing in, we welcome the sunshine of this season. We welcome it into our beings to illuminate, warm, and reinvigorate. Breathing out, we exhale the cool and the cold of the wintertime. Breathing in, we create inner spaciousness filled with freshness, joyfulness, and illumination to hold the prayers and meditations of our hearts. Our mindfulness prayer this morning is Witnessing Prayer by Kate Steinberg. I invite you to join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life, love that calls us to love, care that calls us to care, presence that calls us into presence. We give thanks that we have been brought together in this beloved place, this holy sanctuary, this sacred harbor, where we bring ourselves as we are, in times of sorrow, in times of joy, in times of confusion, in times of fear, in times of transition, in times of clarity, in times of quiet acceptance. In our efforts to pay closer attention to our inner lives, to each other and the world around us, may we notice divine essence today, however this essence expresses itself. May we cultivate presence and awe while we attune to murmurs and shimmers within us and around us, whether it be the spark of a new idea, a vulnerable share from someone we love, or unexpected warmth from someone we don't know. May we continue to attune to what Reverend Howard Thurman called the sound of the genuine within ourselves. May we become quiet enough and still enough to notice the deep within us that lures us towards what matters most. This call that lures us towards freedom and purpose. We ask for guidance and space and time to do just that so that we can lead lives we feel most called to live. Today we remember the people who have paid close attention to us in our lives, the people who have loved us into being through the ways they witnessed us, the ways they attuned to us, both strengthened us and transformed us. There may only be one person we think of who has done this for us throughout our lives. We give thanks to them today. We say, thank you for witnessing me. Thank you for paying close attention to the stirrings of my heart. We also consider someone who may want to be witnessed by us. Perhaps this is someone we haven't been able to make time for, someone who we love, who dearly wants our attention. May we find a way to say, I am here for you. I'm paying close attention to the stirrings of your heart. May we continue to cultivate the practice of paying close attention so that people feel lovingly held in our hurting world. May we meet this moment and all the moments ahead with spaciousness and presence. May we deeply and lovingly witness the person in front of us, beside us, and within us. Amen. Let us sit together with the stirrings of our hearts in silent meditation for a few brief minutes. Our Unitarian Universalist spiritual communities are sanctuaries for transgender, non-binary, gender non-conforming, and queer people of all ages and their allies and friends, just to be clear. We've collectively worked for decades to advance justice, equity, and inclusion for the whole spectrum of queer identities. And we fought back against transphobia, cisgenderism, misogyny, the denigration of the body, sex negativity, erotophobia, homophobia, reproductive injustice, and biphobia in religion, schools, government, and society. From our own late Reverend Ernie Pipes officiating a queer wedding in 1959, and our whole movement democratically adopting a national resolution against queer discrimination in 1970, to trans-inclusive and statements in the 1990s, and the latest 2024 UUA General Assembly resolution embracing transgender, non-binary, intersex, and gender-diverse people is a fundamental expression of our UU religious values. We have been at the forefront of gender liberation as a religious movement. This was an outgrowth of our commitments to feminism and gender justice in earlier generations of our liberal religious movement, which deconstructed society's prescribed gender roles and worked tirelessly to dismantle patriarchy and its oppressive impact on women, men, and people of diverse gender identities and sexual and affectional orientations. Of course, our modern advocacy is also informed by generations of work in abolition, civil rights, workers' rights, and disability rights, so it is truly intersectional. And it's foundational to a future in which collective liberation is achieved for all. We are the trailblazers in the bending of the moral arc of the universe towards justice. And I know that there are many seated in this sanctuary whose contributions to this salvific and liberatory work predate my queer, non-binary existence on this planet. And we're grateful to you and to the generations of liberal religious people who have worked faithfully to secure the blessings of liberty and justice for all of us. Deep in our religious, theological, and intellectual history is the Jewish wisdom that every person is created in the divine image, and the humanistic wisdom that affirmed the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Our contemporary language, found in our newly adopted statement of Unitarian Universalist values, articulates that we celebrate that we are all sacred beings. Diverse in culture, experience, and theology, we declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. And so we covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression, and to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically through our openness to change. Now, we are in the midst of the newest expression of a human rights movement with our transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming siblings. And we can take this noble history and our values as strong moral guides as we confront the deeply rooted prejudices and bigotry that mars souls in our time and profoundly harms our common humanity. Now, I know that there are people at different points on their own journeys of learning, so I want to be sure to provide a few definitions for some of the terms that I'm using this morning. These are mostly adapted from advocates for trans equality. Gender identity is your internal knowledge of your gender. For example, your knowledge that you're a man, a woman, or another gender. Gender expression is how a person presents their gender on the outside. That might include behavior or clothing, hairstyle, voice, or body characteristics. Now, everyone has a gender identity. including cisgender or non-transgender people. If someone's gender identity matches the gender they were assigned at birth, then they are cisgender, or cis for short. If someone's gender identity does not match the gender they were assigned at birth, then they are transgender, or trans for short. Additionally, non-binary, gender nonconforming, and gender queer are gender identities for those who do not fit into the gender binary of male or female. Some indigenous cultures also recognize those who are two-spirit and outside of that traditional gender binary. If one decides to transition, they may seek gender-affirming care, which can include a variety of ways of embodying their gender identity. Cisgenderism is the privileging of cisgender identities over transgender identities, and the prejudice inherent in such privileging. If you have a question about any of these topics that we explore today, please don't expect transgender and non-binary people to educate you. But take responsibility for your own learning. There are many great books and online resources. And as your minister, you may utilize me as a resource in your learning. At the loving heart of our Unitarian Universalist faith is a commitment to freedom and support for the conditions which would allow each person to live a life of dignity, meaning, and joy. Our spiritual ancestors spoke of it as our commitment to remove every barrier that prohibits the complete unfolding of the powers of the soul, so as to better reflect the splendor and the beauty of the infinite Spirit. Our spiritual ancestors also spoke of removing the barriers that kept each person from achieving their full potential for self-actualization and summoning the good within themselves and within society. Prejudice, bigotry, oppression, and institutional discrimination are the personal dispositions and structures of our society that inhibit people from realizing all the powers of their beings and living those lives of freedom, dignity, meaning, and joy. The strictures in the context of this contemporary movement for human rights are deeply embedded in the gendered conditioning that we were all subjected to by our families of origin, educational systems, cultures, governments, and or religious institutions. When those dimensions of our common life were exclusively dominated by cisgender and heterosexual people without the input of queer people, what did we get? Heterosexist family structures and expectations, educational systems that only acknowledge the existence of cisgender and heterosexual people, laws that discriminated against anyone who wasn't cisgender and heterosexual, and a religious life that was filtered through an exclusionary narrowness of experience. The same is true as those dimensions in our common life were dominated by white people, by able-bodied people, by neurotypical people, and middle-class and wealthy people. To do the work of collective liberation, we have to call in the lived experiences, cultures, and communities of all the people who were intentionally left out of the equation, oppressed, invisibilized, or erased by the dominant groups. Now, we honor the Transgender Day of Remembrance each year to intentionally not forget that it wasn't by accident that some weren't included, but rather it was by design. We celebrate the Transgender Day of Visibility each year to call forth those among us who have been pushed to the margins and silenced by our wider culture. We to continue to cast our rainbow circle of inclusion wide, and we resist those ascendant forces of authoritarianism that denigrate our sacred siblings, and we instead affirm their dignity and wholeness and our solidarity in the struggle for visibility, representation, equity, and justice. The fact of the matter is that lies, deceptions, and animus are what are driving the prejudice and discrimination against gender-diverse people. It is not based in biology, psychology, history, anthropology, or even a holistic understanding of theology and religion. The truth of the matter is gender identities are diverse. They're not fixed, but can be fluid. They're not limited to only two options, in human beings or anywhere in the natural world. Nor can they even be adequately described in scientific terms by a binary. Transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming people have been present in every society through all of human history. Genderqueer people have often held acknowledged identities or sacred roles in many diverse cultures and religions. The scriptures and theologies of the world's religions acknowledge diversity in gender in both human beings and in the divine. If one goes down the rabbit hole of anti-trans rhetoric, it's like the anti-LGB rhetoric of recent history. Its absurdity in the face of biology, psychology, history, anthropology, and religion all become abundantly too clear. Of course, one has to care enough to investigate their own prejudices and critically question those peddling manipulative lies and deceptions driven by their small-minded and small-hearted bigotry. As one social media commentator, Show Up For This, so adeptly declared, there is no trans argument. There simply are trans people. The people who support them and the people who participate either actively or passively in their oppression. I support trans people, and you should too. Now, we likely would have advanced gender identity and sexual and affectional orientation justice generations ago had it not been for the rise of the Nazi Party in Germany in the 1930s. We could today be celebrating the century-old Institute for Sexual Research, which was founded by the young Dr. Magnus Hirschfeld in 1919, and which opened these whole fields of study and even performed the first gender-affirming surgeries in 1930. Brandy Shalais writes in Scientific America, the Institute was an architectural gem that blurred the lines between professional and intimate living spaces. A journalist reported that it could not be a scientific institute because it was furnished, plush, and full of life everywhere. Its stated purpose was to be a place of research, teaching, healing, and refuge that could free the individual from physical ailments, psychological afflictions, and social deprivation. Adolf Hitler was named Chancellor of Germany on January 30th, 1933, and enacted policies to rid Germany of the Leben unwertes Leben, or the lives unworthy of living. When the Nazis came for the Institute on May 6, 1933, Hirschfeld was out of the country, but troops swarmed the building, carrying off a bronze bust of Hirschfeld and all of his precious books, which they piled in the street. Soon, a tower-like bonfire engulfed more than 20,000 books, some of them rare copies that helped provide a historiography of non-conforming people. It was among the first and the largest of the Nazi book burnings. The collection was irreplaceable. The Nazis had the Nazi ideal had been based on a white, cishet, that is cisgender and heterosexual, masculinity masquerading as genetic superiority. Any who strayed were considered to be depraved, immoral, and worthy of total eradication. What began as a project of protecting the German youth and raising healthy families had become, under Hitler, the mechanism for genocide. Now, this important history is echoing through time to us as we witness a similar assault on transgender, non-binary, gender non-conforming, and queer individuals happening right now through the coordinated efforts of political, governmental, educational, religious, and corporate leaders. Jessica Kant observed on Blue Sky, "We are living through the beginning of a trans genocide. If you cannot call it what it is when, all in a week, a government removes every mention of a group of people, destroys information about them en masse, bans their discussion in schools, restricts their ability to travel, and starts seizing and refusing their official identification, when will you?" So while the Nazis may have started their persecution, erasure, and eventual genocide with book burnings, I don't think they could have fathomed the speed and scale at which leaders in our contemporary society are working to assault our gender, transgender, non-binary, and queer members of our community. It is a moral imperative that we mount a fierce resistance to this assault in every arena of our common life, from school boards and corporate boardrooms to medical and scientific research institutions and the legislatures of this nation. We all know how the Reverend Martin Niemöller's famous 1946 confessional prose, "And first they came for," ends. It ends with no one left to speak up and speak out when they finally come for you. And we're not going to let that ever happen again. Now, gender liberation is for all: cisgender, transgender, heterosexual, and queer. And our trans siblings are leading the way to create spaciousness to hold all of us in all of our holy complexities and our dazzling displays of difference and diversity, which reflect the dynamism of nature and creative spirit. Gender liberation is a prerequisite to our collective liberation and our UU vision of realizing diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. So let us stand, side, wheel, protest, march, donate, write, sing, pray, and love with all of our hearts until the day comes when we are all free. May it be so. Amen and blessed be.
I don't know about y'all, but damn, that was good. That was really good. Wow, and now I have to follow up with just some household items. Let's see, so your offerings today go to support the work of multiple groups in this church congregation, such as the Pastoral Care Associates, and the Faith in Action, and the Intersectional Anti-Racism and Anti-Oppression Commissions. In addition, half of the Sunday offering this month goes to the D.D. Hirsch Mental Health Services. D.D. Hirsch Mental Health Services has provided mental health, substance use disorder and suicide prevention services since 1942. Dee Dee Hirsch provides compassionate, whole-person care to more than 233,000 people annually across its programs. It is a pioneer in suicide prevention programs and has a special focus on collaborating with communities challenged by prejudice and injustice. We invite you to contribute in whatever way feels right for you. Ways to give are displayed on the slide behind me. All the ways of receiving support are gratefully accepted. Cash or checks can be placed in the offertory bags that will be passed around shortly. Thank you for all that you give, monetarily and through your time and care at this church and beyond. The ushers are invited to come forward. Your offering will now be gratefully received.
Hello again. This next song, Sonder had asked me to sing it. I didn't really know a lot about it, but it's from a musical called Fun Home. I don't know if anyone's familiar. Okay, woohoo, fans. I didn't realize that this was about the life of Alison Bechdel of the Bechdel test. And this piece is basically about her sexual awakening and realizing that she's a lesbian. My sexual awakening was Pam Grier. And so, but her sexual awakening takes place, I believe this person is a janitor. And yeah, just you'll hear like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And earlier I was like, Cassie, I could totally see how some child was like, yes, yes. So please enjoy Fun Home, Ring of Keys. Oh my gosh, I need this one.
Someone just came in the door, like no one I ever saw before. I feel
please stand in body or spirit for our closing hymn, 1053, from your blue hymnal.
How could anyone ever tell you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you were less than a whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. How could anyone ever tell you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
May you go in peace, holding fast to that which is good, and returning to no person evil for evil, but strengthening the faint of heart, supporting the weak, helping the afflicted, honoring all beings. May you go forth into this day and be blessed, and may you be a blessing. Amen.
You project so